The Young and the Restless spoilers Monday, for the 2nd of March 2026. The next episode unfolds under a thick cloud of tension that has been building for weeks, and at the center of it all stands Nick Newman. A man torn between righteous fury and dangerous self-destruction. The dismissal of the case against Matt Clark by a judge has sent shockwaves through Genoa City, not because anyone believed Matt was innocent, but because the system once again failed to cage a predator who thrives in the shadows. Matt has disappeared physically, yet his absence is far from silence. Instead, it is the kind of silence that hums with threat, the kind that makes every ringing phone and every late-night notification feel like a loaded weapon. When Noah Newman receives a message from Matt, it is not merely a taunt. It is a calculated move, a reminder that Matt is watching, waiting, enjoying the fear he plants in others. Noah tries to steady himself, but the unease seeps into every corner of his life, and Sienna Bacall, who has already sensed how fragile peace can be in this family, feels the ground shifting beneath her feet. They both understand that, until Matt is back behind bars, none of them are truly safe. Nick, however, is beyond fear. What fuels him now is something darker. He does not just want Matt arrested, he wants him erased. The rage inside him has evolved into something corrosive, and that rage is feeding on his growing dependence on painkillers and fentanyl. What began as a desperate attempt to manage chronic pain has spiraled into a dangerous crutch, blurring his judgment and sharpening his impulses at the same time. The drugs dull the physical ache, but amplify the emotional extremes. Under their influence, Nick's desire for justice mutates into a thirst for vengeance. He convinces himself that he is the only one willing to do what must be done, the only one strong enough to finish what the courts failed to complete. Yet the irony is suffocating. The more he insists he is in control, the more the addiction tightens its grip. Victoria sees it. She sees the tremor in his hand when he thinks no one is looking, the flash of irrational intensity in his eyes when Matt's name is mentioned. She understands her brother's fury because she shares it, but unlike Nick, she channels her anger into strategy. Victoria proposes a plan not driven by impulse, but by calculation. If Matt refuses to surface, then they will drag him into the light. Together, they design a trap carefully constructed to exploit Matt's arrogance. They know he cannot resist bait, especially if it involves the Newmans appearing vulnerable. Victoria uses her business connections and her public image to leak just enough misinformation to suggest that Nick is unraveling, that he is distracted, weakened. Distracted by family issues and corporate pressures. The narrative is subtle, but deliberate. They want Matt to believe that the predator has become prey. Nick agrees, but beneath his agreement lies a dangerous edge. He is not merely participating in a sting operation, he is preparing for confrontation. In his mind, the trap is not about handing Matt over to the authorities. It is about luring him into a space where justice can be delivered on Nick's terms. Victoria senses this shift, but chooses not to confront it directly, hoping that keeping Nick close to the plan will prevent him from going rogue. What she does not fully grasp is how addiction erodes restraint. Each pill Nick takes convinces him he is sharper, braver, more decisive, when in reality he is stepping closer to the brink. Meanwhile, Lauren Fenmore finds herself blindsided by an unexpected offer that unsettles her in ways she did not anticipate. On the surface, it appears to be a professional proposition, an opportunity that could expand her influence and strengthen her brand. Yet beneath the polished language and strategic advantages lies an undercurrent that feels personal. The timing is suspicious, arriving just as tensions ripple through the Newman orbit and Kane's name begins circulating in hushed conversations again. Lauren questions whether this offer is a calculated business maneuver or something more intimate, perhaps even manipulative. She has spent years navigating the fine line between loyalty and ambition, and she knows that in Genoa City, the two are rarely separate. Accepting could mean aligning herself with shifting power dynamics. Refusing could close doors that may never reopen. The ambiguity gnaws at her because she senses that whichever path she chooses will alter more than just her career trajectory. Phyllis Summers stands at a crossroads of her own making. Kane's reemergence into relevance forces her to confront a decision that carries both emotional and strategic consequences. Phyllis has never been one to shy away from chaos, but this time the stakes feel heavier. Her history with Kane is layered with attraction, mistrust, and unfinished tension. Aligning with him could offer leverage in the broader power struggle unfolding in Genoa City, yet it could also entangle her in schemes that spiral beyond her control. Phyllis understands that her choices ripple outward, affecting not only her own standing, but also those of her children and allies. She wrestles with the temptation to choose the path that promises immediate advantage versus the one that preserves long-term stability. For once, even she hesitates, aware that a miscalculation could cost her more than pride. While these strategic games unfold, Sally Spectra edges toward a mistake born not from malice, but from insecurity. Sally has always balanced ambition with vulnerability, and the pressure mounting around her threatens to tip that balance. Feeling overshadowed, uncertain of her footing, and emotionally frayed, she prepares to make a decision that could compromise her integrity and relationships. It is the kind of impulsive move that promises quick validation, but carries lasting consequences. Just as she teeters on the edge, Audra steps in, unexpectedly becoming the voice of clarity. Audra's intervention is not purely altruistic. She recognizes potential disaster when she sees it, and she understands how easily one reckless act can ignite a chain reaction. Yet in saving Sally from herself, Audra also repositions her own influence, proving that sometimes power lies not in destruction, but in restraint. The tension tightens as Matt continues to toy with Noah through cryptic messages that escalate in menace. Each text is a reminder that he is orchestrating fear like a composer conducting a symphony. Noah struggles with the psychological weight, torn between wanting to appear strong and feeling the very real tremor of anxiety that Matt's presence evokes. Sienna remains steadfast, but even her composure cannot mask the shared dread that lingers in quiet moments. They both know that Matt thrives on psychological warfare. He wants Nick destabilized, wants the family fractured, wants chaos to bloom from uncertainty. And in many ways, he is succeeding. Nick's escalating addiction becomes both his vulnerability and Matt's unseen ally. The drugs distort Nick's perception of risk, pushing him toward increasingly reckless interpretations of the plan he and Victoria have crafted. The trap is set, the bait laid, and all that remains is for Matt to take it. Yet the true question is not whether Matt will surface, but who Nick will be when that confrontation finally occurs. Will he be the protective father seeking justice, or the man consumed by vengeance and chemical haze? Phyllis's impending decision regarding Kane looms in parallel, threatening to shift alliances in ways that could either stabilize or further destabilize the fragile balance of power. Lauren's choice about the mysterious offer could redraw professional and personal boundaries. Sally's near misstep exposes how easily ambition can corrode judgment. Each storyline intertwines, not by coincidence, but by the invisible threads of influence that define Genoa City. As the episode barrels toward its climax, the atmosphere grows electric with anticipation. The trap for Matt is no longer theoretical, it is imminent. Nick stands at the center of it, outwardly composed yet inwardly fractured. Victoria remains vigilant, watching for cracks in both the plan and her brother. Noah waits for resolution that feels perpetually out of reach. And somewhere in the shadows, Matt watches, calculating, convinced that he is the smartest player in a game he believes he controls. What none of them fully grasp is that the greatest threat may not be Matt's cunning, but the instability brewing within Nick himself. A storm fueled by addiction and rage that could turn a carefully orchestrated trap into an irreversible catastrophe. Victoria Newman has always believed that strategy is the antidote to chaos, and in helping Nick set a trap for Matt Clark, she is acting from that core belief. Yet beneath her composed exterior, there is a flicker of doubt she refuses to acknowledge out loud. The trap itself is elegant in theory, carefully designed to exploit Matt's ego and his need to feel superior. Victoria orchestrates subtle leaks through business channels, hints that Nick is unraveling, whispers that the Newman defenses are fractured and distracted. The idea is simple: lure Matt into believing he has the upper hand, tempt him into resurfacing, and then close the net around him with evidence and law enforcement ready to strike. But theory and reality rarely align cleanly in Genoa City, especially when the opponent is someone like Matt, who has proven repeatedly that he survives by anticipating the next move before others even see the board. That is why the unease lingers. Matt has an uncanny ability to remain one step ahead, as if he senses intention before action, and that alone raises the possibility that the trap may not function as designed. If he suspects manipulation, he will not merely evade capture. He will retaliate, and retaliation from someone with nothing left to lose can spiral into consequences no one predicted. The deeper concern, however, lies not in the mechanics of the trap, but in Nick himself. Victoria is calculating, disciplined, aware of optics and timing. Nick is operating from raw emotion amplified by addiction. His growing dependence on fentanyl has subtly shifted his behavior in ways that only those closest to him can detect. His reactions are sharper, his patience thinner, his need for control more desperate. Addiction is a vulnerability that predators exploit, and if Matt has been watching closely enough, he may have noticed the telltale signs, the delayed focus in Nick's gaze, the slightly erratic edge to his decisions, the way his anger flares faster than it once did. If Matt recognizes that Nick is using fentanyl, the trap becomes exponentially more dangerous. Instead of being baited, Matt could twist the narrative, framing Nick as unstable, unreliable, perhaps even dangerous enough to discredit himself. In that scenario, the plan does not merely fail. It backfires, leaving Nick exposed legally and psychologically. The possibility that Matt could weaponize Nick's addiction is not far-fetched, and that is what makes the stakes feel so volatile. Victoria may sense something is off, but she is balancing too many responsibilities to confront it fully. She wants to protect her brother, protect the family name, and end the threat Matt poses to Noah once and for all. Yet protection requires clear judgment, and clear judgment is precisely what Nick risks losing. If Matt does step into the trap, the confrontation will demand restraint. The question is whether Nick, under the influence of both rage and narcotics, can exercise that restraint. A single impulsive act could dismantle everything Victoria has so meticulously arranged. Meanwhile, across town, an entirely different kind of tension brews as an unexpected offer lands before Lauren Fenmore Baldwin. The timing is suspicious, and the source even more so. It appears that Phyllis, ever pragmatic and ever opportunistic, has decided to approach Lauren with a proposal. On paper, it may read as a strategic partnership, a mutually beneficial alliance that could shift the balance of power in subtle but meaningful ways, yet Lauren is not driven solely by ambition. She has built her career on resilience, yes, but also on a sense of moral compass that she refuses to abandon. Success without integrity holds no appeal to her, especially when the people she loves are entangled in pain and uncertainty. Phyllis, for all her intelligence and charisma, has a history of operating in gray areas, pushing boundaries, rationalizing ethically questionable moves as necessary tactics. Lauren knows this. She knows that any alliance with Phyllis comes with invisible strings attached, strings that may tighten at the worst possible moment. If this offer involves Kane Ashby or intersects with the wider Newman conflict, Lauren must consider the ripple effects carefully. Accepting could mean aligning herself with strategies that indirectly hurt those she cares about. Declining could isolate her from influence at a time when influence might be essential. The moral dilemma is not abstract, it is deeply personal. Lauren is not interested in winning at the cost of her conscience, and that alone suggests she will scrutinize every detail before even considering a response. At the heart of it all stands Phyllis Summers herself, wrestling with a choice that feels as emotional as it is strategic. Kane Ashby has attempted to convince her that he harbors no resentment, that whatever tensions exist between them can be set aside in pursuit of a shared objective, but Phyllis is not naive. She understands that unspoken grievances have a way of resurfacing when least expected. Kane's calm demeanor may mask calculation, and she cannot determine whether his reassurance is genuine or tactical. For a woman who prides herself on reading people, this uncertainty is unsettling. Phyllis's internal conflict runs deeper than business alliances. Part of her remains wounded by the fragmentation of her family, by the sense that stability has slipped through her fingers more times than she can count. That pain fuels a desire to prove she can still rise, still command respect, still shape outcomes rather than react to them. Yet another part of her longs for something steadier, less combative, less transactional. She oscillates between the instinct to fight forward and the quiet ache of what she has lost. Helping Kane might offer leverage and relevance. Refusing him might preserve dignity and autonomy. But in Genoa City, neutrality rarely exists. There is also the undeniable possibility that Kane's patience has limits. If he perceives hesitation as rejection, he may respond not with anger, but with cold strategic reprisal. Kane has demonstrated before that he can be both charming and ruthless when circumstances demand it. Should Phyllis decline to assist, she could find herself subtly marginalized or maneuvered into a disadvantageous position. The risk is not explosive retaliation, but calculated consequence, the kind that unfolds slowly until it is too late to reverse. All these threads intertwine with the looming uncertainty of Nick's trap. If Victoria's plan succeeds, it could stabilize multiple fronts at once, restoring a measure of order and weakening the atmosphere of fear Matt has cultivated. If it fails, however, the fallout could cascade through every alliance and personal relationship currently under strain. Lauren's decision may hinge on how volatile the broader landscape becomes. Phyllis's choice could either fortify her standing or expose her to isolation. Kane's reaction may redefine loyalties. And at the center, Nick's battle with addiction remains a ticking clock that no one has fully confronted. The unspoken truth is that every character believes they are acting from a position of agency, yet each is influenced by forces they only partially control. Matt thrives in psychological warfare. Victoria thrives in strategy. Nick thrives on instinct, though that instinct is now clouded. Lauren thrives on principle. Phyllis thrives on resilience and reinvention. Kane thrives on leverage. When these traits collide, the outcome is rarely clean. So the question lingers, will the trap ensnare Matt, or will it expose Nick's fragility? Will Lauren uphold her ethical standards even if it means sacrificing opportunity? Will Phyllis choose empowerment over desperation, or will she align with Kane out of fear of losing relevance? The episode promises movement, but not necessarily resolution. In Genoa City, every calculated move carries the shadow of unintended consequences, and the closer they all step toward confrontation, the more precarious the balance becomes.